Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hi, Labrada here, and I am with my good friend and poser extraordinaire, Terrence Ruffin. And today we're here to talk to you guys a little bit about the process that we go through in putting together our posing routines. And so, Terrence, let me ask you this: like, when you go to put together your poser routine, what are some of the things that are going through your mind, and what are some of the tips that we can share with our viewers today?
Some of the things that go through my mind are once I have the song and once I have a couple poses I wanna add to it, is how can I make this creative? How can I make people say, "Wow, I haven't seen something like that before"? How can I keep this interesting? Basically, how can I make this as enjoyable to watch as possible? And definitely transitions are a huge part of that. Mm-hmm.
That's a big one. Mm-hmm. That's a big one, the transitions. You know, and I mean, it's a lot of times, you know, you see guys that'll come up and they'll do like a front double bicep, mm-hmm. right? And then they drop their arms,
yeah, lazy,
and they get lazy, and then they get into their front lat spread. So, you know, why not just move this way,
exactly.
you know, and make it a little bit more elegant, you know, the transition, right? Mm-hmm. You know, that type of thing.
I totally agree. I think another huge thing, and I saw this recently at a show, is the guy, he hit the poses okay, he transitioned okay, but it felt like it was like a lack of conviction or like oomph to his poses. So he would kind of get into them lazy. He would just kind of move like this. He didn't look into it.
So it's almost not finishing it. Mm-hmm. Almost not finishing it is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
So like not just kind of like okay, and then just not quite locking them in and that type of a thing.
I think so.
Yeah. You know, so I think that it's important to you know, to show the you know, grace when you're moving, you know, and then, you know, followed by power, you know, when you lock in a pose, you know, and as Terrence said, showing conviction, you know, that you mean it.
Yeah, that you mean. Yeah, when you hit the pose, this is it. Yeah,
right.
I totally agree, and I definitely agree. Every time I tell people, it's like you're opening, and as you get to your closing, it's like that. It's
opening
like
and closing.
Yeah, usually when you start moving, you open the hands, and when you get to the spot, close. That's kind of the best way I can think about it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we mentioned it in the earlier segment. You know, basically grace followed by power. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
you know, so those are a couple of the things that to keep in mind. I would like to ask you, if you will, just to grab a string of poses from the posing routine that you just did, okay. And let's just kind of step through it, and let's teach the audience about some of your transitions.
Alrighty. Okay. So one of the cool ones I enjoyed doing this past weekend was I went from, give me a second. So I did one here, like a face one, and I brought it out here. And then I like to do a lot of transitions where I'm up high and then I go down low. So I went from here and I dropped here. And then I switched into a 3/4 bicep. And this is a one I really enjoyed. I bring this leg back. And then I come here.
That's very elegant.
Yeah. So I really enjoy that one. That's probably the coolest one I've done. And one more that I really enjoy that I think I got from you is where I do it better on the other way.
But everybody's got a favorite side.
Yeah, I have a favorite side. So, yeah, we're here. And then I'll drop this knee down.
Right.
And I bring this other leg up so we can go do back poses now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I saw that. That was pretty slick the way that you changed that. Yeah, you changed it. Let's break that down. That last piece. Let's do that one just a little bit slower. You know. So how would you step them through that? What would they do?
So we'll start with a kneeling pose here, and then basically, this is another big thing when it comes to posing is mobility and flexibility. I think I still need a little bit more ankle to make it a bit smoother, but I lean forward, and then I drop that knee down.
And then you actually drop that knee down.
Yeah, so if I had a bit more...
That's a stretch, man.
If I had a bit more flexibility in my ankle, it would be look a little bit smoother from there to there.
Gotcha.
But that's about all I have right now.
That's a drop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I bring that other leg up.
At the same time that you're moving your arms up.
I do something. I always make sure I do something with my hands. Or yeah, usually, I mean, you would probably agree that anytime you're doing like a movement, you just don't want your arms, you know, hanging down doing nothing.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah, you have to be cognizant of where your arms are at all times, right?
Yeah.
And you have to be doing something with them.
I totally agree. And then from there, I can do like a back pose here.
Right.
Yeah. So that.
See, and I like what you did there. You know how you went from this, you know, and then you know you brought it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the same time that you're bringing your leg up, you're bringing your arm up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think definitely you want to make sure like your arms and legs kind of coincide and not one thing. Just this times we can move one thing by itself, but if you're really trying to be graceful, it's really key to move the body like in unison.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I like what you just did, by the way. You know, I'm sure you guys saw him. You know, he was moving like this, and he just basically shifted his weight from this leg over to this leg.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it was kind of like a shift, but at the same time, he moved the shoulders, and then his arms started going. See, to guys like you, it just comes second nature. Yeah. You know, but you have to break it down, right? I think that's where people, you know, they get stuck. You know. So think of it as the feet, you know, and shifting the weight from one leg to the other, shifting the weight, same time rotating hips and shoulders, and then finally, you know, using the hands.
Exactly. I think a lot of times with today, there's so many classes that people lose track of things. Like some things I see in men's physique can definitely be backtracked to bodybuilding back in the day. The way they go from like, they do like their poses here, with the men's physique guys, I would just come here and then here. A lot of it's very, very similar. It's just changed slightly to fit a certain class. And I tell people like they'll switch from men's physique to bodybuilding. And I'm like, keep that fluidity that you had in men's physique, just incorporate it in the bodybuilding.
Right.
You know.
Right.
They'll tell me the things I hate to hear the most is the guy say, I pose like a bodybuilder. I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah,
pose like a bodybuilder.
Yeah, like it's a bad thing. I'm like, no. I'm like, every single thing that I do and every great pose, it comes from bodybuilding.
That's right.
You know?
That's right. you know what's interesting about what you just said? I mean, back in the old days, if you look at some of the photographs, the black and white photographs from bodybuilders from all the way back in the 50s, you know, and you would see these poses like this, you know, or poses like this, you know. I mean, they're just so different looking, you know, and artistic, and you know, or you would see you know, these poses like this by Steve Reeves, you know, I think it was 1947 Mr. America, and you know, a lot of these are lost.
They are,
because you know, people get locked into, you know, you know, what I would call, you know, poses that like originated more in the 70s, you know, so it's more this type of a pose.
Instead of higher.
Okay, instead of this type of a thing.
That's interesting.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I know a lot of guys, well, I at least know, like, I was researching like Eugene Sandow, and a lot of things he did, he would actually go look at different art pieces, and that's how he would learn certain poses.
That's right.
You know, and I think that's where it started to change, where bodybuilders drew a lot of inspiration from artists back in the day, and now it's a little bit different.
Eugene Sandow, who he just mentioned, for those of you that don't know, that is the guy that is the model for the Mr. Olympia trophy.
The Sandow,
the Sandow. And so, you know, he was a bodybuilder from the turn of the century all the way back in early 1900s.
Definitely, it was he's got a lot of cool history, guys. So you should check him out. Really
great stuff. You know what I would like to also do today is I'd like to grab a snippet from a pose routine that I did the Mr. Olympia all the way back in 1988.
Okay.
You know, which is the rotating archer.
Okay.
You know, which a lot of people have asked me about. Well, how do you do that rotating archer? You know,
it's pretty cool. It's really fluid.
Yeah. And thank you for that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the music on, and I'm going to run through it, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to just kind of talk our way through it.
Okay.
Is that cool?
That's great.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's a little piece of it.
That was awesome. That was really cool.
We'll break it down now.
What a treat.
I know, right? Yeah.
So that's the for the archer or the archer on the turntable.
Okay.
As the case might be, and so the weight is on the right foot. Okay, so I could literally pick this foot up, right? So all the weight is on the right foot, and we start in a front double bicep. We bring that guy down into the archer, and then we start spinning. So first, what I'm doing is I'm spinning from the hips and the shoulder. And then when I get to the point where I just can't do it anymore, then I'm moving this foot, this right foot, I'm moving it and dragging the other foot around. And so that's right. It's almost like crawling around. You see how his foot is crawling around, and that's how you shift. One tip is to just keep a straight line with your eye looking down your hand, and so your eye should follow your hand all the way around. And this would be just a little higher, and it would just follow like you're shooting.
Okay.
Yep. And bring that leg around to this point right here. Okay, and then from this point right here, this was kind of an interesting thing, and that's exactly right.
Yeah,
That's exactly
really
right.
cool.
So from here, what I did was I dropped this arm right here, actually, and then brought them this way at the same time.
This is hard.
Okay. Like this. Oh my goodness. That's it. That's exactly right. And then from here, okay, it was one of these where I dropped this arm and came along with this one. So I dropped this arm, come along with this one.
Okay.
And then from here, I was listening to the music, I was choreographing it. So I was just boom, boom.
Boom. Okay.
Right. It's just like boom, boom. Right? And then boom. That's right. And then the same thing again, boom, boom. And then boom. And then bring this leg out, finish the archer to the back, and then spin that guy around. That's it.
Yeah. That was tough.
It's the tough part, obviously, is keeping your balance on this foot, because you got all the weight on this foot. This foot is really just kind of gliding around in the circle, right?
Okay.
You know, and then you get to a point and you just have to bring them around. Yeah. So that was the one I get a lot of questions about, guys. So I wanted to just break that down for you.
Yeah, that was really cool. One of my other favorites ones, I'm still, this is probably my weakest poses, or like my 3/4 poses, but you did one where you went from like here, and then you brought it back in, and then you brought it back out again. Oh, but there's one, we'll start with that one. I got one more after that.
Sure.
But probably my favorite one I've seen you do is where you were doing like a 3/4 pose here, then you stepped forward, you brought your arms up, and then you were about like here, and then you spent, came up.
Oh, and then down.
Yeah, then down.
Yes.
That was very.
You have
very
to wear a
difficult.
crash helmet for that one.
Yeah.
That was from the bullfighter routine.
The bullfighters.
Yeah. And I'd be lying to you if I had told you that I remember exactly how to do it.
It was difficult. Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. One of those twist type of things where you end up. Yeah, I'd have to study that one. Yeah,
I had to practice it a few times. I was actually surprised on how difficult it was. I mean, he saw me the other day practicing a lot. It was the last thing I learned. Yeah. That was probably my favorite thing that you've done. But well, I just had to tell you.
Thank you. Yeah, that one's probably the more one of the most difficult routines I've ever done. Yeah, the bullfighter, as I call it, right? And it was done to a Spanish piece of classical music.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've watched that a lot, and I'm like, yeah, it definitely had. It looked very difficult. How long it was, how many different transitions you had, and it wasn't just easy transitions. They were very complex, a lot of them.
Yeah, yeah, you know, and that's something that you know that you know a lot about, and that you use in your routines as well. You know, which is you bring art into your routines. You know, so it's not just about finding a novel way of getting from, you know, a front double bicep, you know, to you know, to you know, one other, you know, basic pose. It's about creating some fluidity and art and, you know, sculpture in, you know, in between.
Agree.
Yeah.
How would you, so like say if a person is new and they want to eventually try to get to where, you know, they want to become a great poser, do you have like any like step-by-step things they should do? Like, yeah.
You know, it's just some of the things that come to mind, you know, and especially if you're just starting out. You know, some of you are more advanced, you know, and some of you are just getting started out. But you know, we talked about this actually during the interview. But you know, obviously you have poses that are from the front, poses that are from the right side, okay, poses that are from the back side, poses that are from the other side, you know, and then back to the front. Okay, so one of the things that I like to do with the beginners is just to make sure that they start with quarter turns. And I don't mean just the mandatory quarter turns. I mean, you know, going from here, you know, and then just basically just gliding into quarter turns, you know, and learning how to glide through quarter turns.
I like it, yeah.
You see? And so, you know, and just shifting, learning to shift the body a quarter turn at a time, but not doing it in a blocky
rigid,
fashion, you know, in a fashion where, you know, where you're moving. You have to be conscious of your hands, you know. It's like they're floating, right? Okay, so it's like the hands are floating.
I like it a lot.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
that.
open hands.
Okay.
Almost like if there was water in front of you. Imagine if you're standing in water, waist deep water, and you're running your hands over the water.
Yeah. That's a really good, okay. So that's the first thing.
So I like to talk to them about about working in quarter turns. You know, I think that's a real important piece of it. You know, and then finding transitions that where you can go from front to side, you know, to back, you know, in a fluid way.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the way. Yeah, that's a really good way to teach someone how to be more fluid from the start.
Yep. Just open hands, you know, and then I would say small turns at first. So like from the front, you know, like a front double bicep, you know, might go into a side chest shot. Okay.
Okay.
You know, and then a side chest shot might go into a 3/4 back shot.
Okay.
Which might then go into shots from the back.
Okay.
Okay, now from here, you can always spin around this way, right? You can always spin around this way.
Do a side pose.
And now you got your side tricep, right? Okay, or let's say that you wanted to, you know, to break the rule, you don't want to keep going in the same direction. If you wanted to go in the other direction, so one way of getting out of that is basically bringing that leg around this way.
Okay.
And then you can come to the front.
That's cool. That's cool. The way I normally teach people how to pose is I always teach them to make sure they hit their mandatories right first. So make sure they have the basics down before. Because I've seen some people, they'll move and then they'll hit a shot like they're trying to hit a front double bicep or side chest and they're hitting it like this. I'm like, you gotta learn the basics before you go. You learn how to walk before you run.
That's right.
From there, I do like to do the same thing where I'll tell them, like, I make it almost like a game. I'm like, all right, let's show me how you would get from a front double to a side chest.
That's great.
Yeah. And
so almost like pick a couple, right? Okay, so I'm gonna pick a couple.
Okay.
Okay, let's start simple.
All right.
Okay, front double bicep to side chest.
Okay.
Love it.
Cool. All right. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, your turn.
Oh.
You call one.
Let's do side tricep to rear double bicep.
Okay, side tricep. So I would go from here.
Okay.
To a rear double bicep. I would probably just move this way.
Oh. I like it.
Yeah. Now that would be a pretty. That's a pretty straightforward move.
Let's do one more then.
Okay.
Let's do. A side tricep to an ab and thigh. I think that's a,
Okay.
look a little bit prettier, yeah.
So yeah, from this would be a side tricep, you know, and or you would do the side tricep this way.
Yeah,
Okay, and then to an ab and thigh, it's just like this.
I like it. I like how you came up one first, because you like
Right.
that's a dynamic pose, just hitting it like that.
Right.
And
so
then
you get one shot out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you get the second shot of it, which is full frontal,
Exactly.
right? And then from there you could go into a front lat spread.
Love it. Yeah. I think the cool thing is too is like some people just don't know a lot of poses for some reason, and I'm like so because like when I think of different like positions I'm in, like with that ab and thigh you did, you went here, but you could have just brought that bicep
That's
up
right.
as well.
That's
There's
right.
a lot of different variations
Okay.
to different things.
Okay, and then check this one out. See, so that variation, like you said, from here, instead of doing a front abdominal,
yeah.
you could go into this shot right here, right? Which is a classic
Exactly.
shot. Now watch this. You just turned that into an archer,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah. I love it. yeah. That's why I think sometimes people should just spend time looking at poses, and because they just don't know for some reason, you know.
Yes.
So learning, adding to your arsenal is in a sense. You
That's
know?
right. That's right. One of the things that I used to do when I was learning how to pose was I would go through the bodybuilding magazines. Yes, people, we actually had physical magazines back
Back in
then.
the day,
And we
yeah.
would literally cut the pictures out. So today what you would do is you would go online and then hit print and just print those pictures out and then cut them out. And I would
Okay.
just lay them out, and I would lay those pictures out, and I would just try to match those poses that the guys were doing as best as I could.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So you definitely sounds like you spent a lot of concentrated effort on increasing your posing. So
It's like anything else. It takes time, right?
and I think you did it in a way, because some people, the way you did it was very interesting, because some people, they say, oh, I'm practicing posing, they would just do it in the mirror, but you actually spent time looking in magazines,
Yes.
studying other people.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah,
a lot of work.
You have to study other people. So I would say study them two ways. One, you know, actually print the photos out, you know, clip them out, and then put them on the floor, you know, or in front of you, and try to match the pose. And then secondly, study posing routines of bodybuilders. Don't try to do the whole routine, okay? And don't pick the most difficult routine. Don't start with this guy's routine. Or if you do, select like 3 or 4 poses, like a string of poses.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay, you know, and more of the basic ones, you know, and then try to copy that, but just do it over and over and over again. You know, just those 3 or 4 poses until you get really good at them. You know, and then one more thing, I would say videotape yourself. Actually videotape yourself once you feel that you got it. Videotape yourself and then play it back and see what it looks like.
That was a huge deal for me, because sometimes what I would see in the mirror wasn't what I saw like without looking in the mirror, you know? And then also I see sometimes people pick up bad tendencies when they're trying to look in the mirror. So like if they're doing a back shot, they're like looking at themselves, they're not turned as much as they should be, you know?
That's right.
So so you definitely need to spend time away from the mirror when you're trying to develop your posing.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And it helps, you know, to have a video camera or somebody maybe just recording you on an iPhone, you know, and then just playing it back and that type of thing. And then I tell people, because you bring up a very interesting thing, when you finally get up on stage to compete, you're not going to have a mirror in front of you. You're going to have a lot of faces. You're going to have an audience, and you're going to have some judges in front of you. So you have to be able to do your routine without actually looking. And so to me, that's where the kinesiology comes in. In other words, you have to develop a sense of feel for the pose, what that pose feels like. So something you might try is, as you're practicing the poses, let's say, you know, you practice it in the mirror, you're watching yourself in the mirror, but then relax, close your eyes, okay, hit the pose, and then open your eyes to see what it looks like in the mirror. You see, did I hit it right?
I like that,
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to train with Robbie Robinson about a month or 2 ago.
Great bodybuilder.
And he had some really cool posing tips. The way he would practice like one transition like 20, 30 times back to back to back.
Oh yeah.
To make sure he hit it properly on stage. And I don't know if people need to do that, but they definitely need to have that repetition in, so
That's
that
right.
anytime they hit that pose, they're in that pose properly.
That's right.
100%.
That's right. Like what you just said, you know, and if you're doing the pose wrong versus doing the pose right and opening up,
Exactly.
you know, you want to make sure that you have a feel for it and that you do it enough times that it's gonna look right when you do it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think another thing I wanted to talk about was there's some of the things that guys in shows you see like they do wrong or they mess up with their posing when they're competing. Personally, me, I think a big one is not being sure of themselves. So like when they walk up to do they walk up to the line here, like they're looking at their feet, they're trying to figure out what to do. Once they get it, then they step into it. I feel like you should be confident. You shouldn't have to look down at your legs. You should just step up, flex your legs, and come up.
That's right.
So I think fidgeting is a thing I notice a lot on stage.
Yeah, fidgeting. Be careful, guys, especially when you're first starting out. Be careful what you're doing with your hands. Okay, be careful what you're doing with your hands. Be real careful also, and this comes into. It's kind of one of those things where if you get too relaxed when you're up there. Let's say that you have been called out and you've done your poses, you've been compared, and you're put back in the line. You know, well, I can relax now, right? Because the judges will tell you relax. Terrence, can they relax?
No.
No, you can't relax. If you're standing back there waiting for your call, you have to have your shoulders and your chest up, and you have to have your abs tight. You gotta stay tight because the judges will still be looking across the lineup, you know, and they'll be looking for people to pull forward to compare with the other guys.
Yeah, you're 100%. I know another thing I noticed is I think a lot of guys back in the day understood how bodybuilding and like body language correlated, like standing up tall, chin up, you know, things they teach you as a kid. But a lot of times in posing now, I'll see people like when they're doing their side relax, they kind of like bent, squished up like this instead of standing up tall, chest up, things like that.
That's it. And you know how I summarize what you just said, which are excellent points. I summarize it as opening up.
Opening up is a better way to say it.
This is I'm hiding myself.
Yeah.
This I'm opened up.
And it's really, I mean, that looks like you're more confident, looks like you're in a better spot, just plain and simple.
That's right.
For sure.
Excellent. Excellent. Anything else that we want to cover today?
The last thing is I know someone mentioned to us about they notice how a lot of bodybuilders are shaking on stage and why that is. So if you could answer that.
Right. Well, you know what? I think that's, there's various reasons. Some of them are physiological, okay, you know, because they may have an electrolyte imbalance, you know, or be sweating excessively, that type of thing, or just nerves. I mean, let's face it, you know, a lot of times when they're first going up there for the first time, you know, they're a bit nervous, okay, and I can certainly understand that. But the one that is definitely within their control, it's within your control, is if you practice enough and you practice holding and tensing the muscles enough, okay, then your muscles shouldn't be shaking on the day of the show, okay? You see, a lot of times it comes because they're just not used to standing there in a quote-unquote relaxed, but actually just a relaxed, tensed, you know, way, okay, for a long amount of time, you know, and so that's where the shaking starts. You know, because they just can't, you know, and you see it in the men and the women both. You know, and it's like they're just not used to holding all those muscles in their body tightened up for prolonged periods of time. You got to practice that, guys.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I have any more
pearls of wisdom that you're going to share today. But maybe there will be a sequel.
Oh yeah, I would love it. Yeah.
Man, I can't tell you what a thrill, you know, to be able to work with you.
This is an honor.
Yeah. This is great to old school and new school, you know. But hey, listen. At the end of the day, you know, the objective with posing is to show your body in its best light, whether it was yesteryear or whether it's today. You know, the whole idea is to get up there and do a great presentation and show your body to its best angles and best light. You know, one of the things that I hope that those that watch the video will take away is the importance of presentation, and that they'll take it seriously, and that they'll take the torch and run with it and try to do the very best they can with their presentation to elevate the art of posing to another level.
Yes, I totally agree.
Terrence, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great.